Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. SheKnows.com writes, for decades, Queen Elizabeth II ruled by the mantra, never complain, never explain. And that's the style the Prince and Princess of Wales have adopted since her passing in 2022. They didn't address their feud with Prince Harry after his jaw-dropping allegations in his memoir, Spare, and they kept things rather vague with Kate's recent medical leave. Charles, on the other hand, has decided to rule with more transparency, talking about his enlarged prostate and his cancer diagnosis, even though the specifics remain private. The problem is that these two communication approaches oppose each other and make for a mess of headlines like we saw last week. There has to be a happy medium where everyone is on the same page, and Charles and Kate's request for privacy is still honoured. They need to be aligned in their approach. A former palace aide told The Telegraph, at the moment, one palace never explains, the other is always explaining. With the Wales explaining very little, it has allowed for the internet rumours to take on a life of its own. It's at the point of a PR disaster and has become what the outlet described as a true challenge for the monarchy. Kate's pals are exasperated by the calls for her to appear in public after false narratives about her being in a coma circulated. Why should she? Truly, I don't get it, the source said. In what other circumstances would a woman take sick leave after a major operation, and instead of being allowed to recover, she's supposed to pose for pictures? It seems absurd that the public would need a proof-of-life snapshot while Kate is recovering from a serious abdominal surgery, but perhaps a thank-you statement from the Princess of Wales would quiet the crowd. Royal author Tom Quinn tells The Mirror, Harry and Meghan are beginning to worry that if their children don't have a relationship with the UK, and by extension with the royal family, they will damage brand Sussex. Surveys already show that America is losing interest in the couple, and they both know that Harry's only real selling point, his only real brand value, is that he's a royal, so he knows he's going to have to build bridges with the working royals, or America will lose interest in him, and if America loses interest, there is a chance Meghan may also lose interest in him. Former royal butler Paul Burrell floated a new nickname for Harry and Meghan, telling GB News, I think, quite frankly, the British public are sick and tired of ginge and whinge and wish they would stay in America, because if you stayed there, you wouldn't have to suffer the indignity of coming to Britain. The privacy-minded Meghan is set to attend the South by Southwest Conference in Austin, participating in a panel titled Breaking Barriers, Shaping Narratives, How Women Lead on and Off the Screen. The event, coinciding with the International Women's Day on March 8th, will feature Meghan alongside prominent figures such as TV presenter Katie Couric and actress Brooke Shields, with the Amendments podcast Errin Haines moderating the session. The panel aims to highlight the contributions of women in media and entertainment, underscoring their roles in leadership and narrative shaping. South by Southwest, which started in 1987 as a music festival and has since expanded to include film and TV sectors, is known for bringing together creative minds to explore forward-focused experiences. Meghan's participation in the event was announced through a press release on the newly launched Sussex's website and South by Southwest's official platforms. The announcement emphasizes Meghan's advocacy for human rights, gender equity, and her identity as a feminist, alongside detailing the achievements of Couric and Shields in their respective fields. This gathering at South by Southwest serves as a platform for discussions on women's leadership and the impact of their stories in media. Meghan was given top billing in the press release. Talk TV's Christo Fufus said, they invade their own privacy. You can't have it both ways. You can't confess to the world every thought and feeling you're having and be the victims and then expect your fans to give you a level of privacy. It's absolute hypocrisy. Royal insider Deep Crown was not impressed by the agenda, saying, Meghan does seem quite comfortable sticking to her familiar narrative, doesn't she? Outside of the Hollywood elite, though, it's questionable how much of an appetite there is for this. Spotify learned this lesson the hard way to the tune of $25 million. One can't help but worry that her new podcast might be headed down the same path unless Meghan takes a pivot and decides to inject a dose of genuine entertainment into her new venture. Palace Intrigue will be right back. Thank you for some recent reviews on Apple Podcasts. One reads, enjoy the host and his honest analysis. I am American and thoroughly embarrassed by Markle. Her hypocrisy and that of Harry is sickening. Angry at the firm? Don't want to be a working royal? Then have some integrity. Give up all the titles, website, etc. and be your own people. Glad that the host is sharp and on point about all of the royal issues. 5 stars. Another reads, my favorite personal news clipping service for the BRF and other royal families of Europe. You get all the gossip and just a little of the snark. Good times indeed. 5 stars. And my thanks to John McDermott for the writing of some of the snark too. On to the media coverage without the Kate part of the podcast. Queen Camilla is set to take on a significant role at the upcoming Royal Maundy service, stepping in for King Charles. This year, the ceremony will take place at Worcester Cathedral on March 28th, where Queen Camilla will distribute specially minted coins to 150 individuals honoured for their service to the community. The Royal Maundy service, a key event in the royal calendar, traditionally sees the monarch personally recognising community service achievements. Furthermore, King Charles is expected to miss the Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey on the following Monday, an occasion that typically includes a message from the monarch to the Commonwealth nations. The Festival of British Eventing, a long-standing equestrian tradition hosted at Princess Anne's Gatcombe Park residence for the past 4 decades, has been called off due to financial constraints. Initiated in the 80s by Princess Anne and her then-husband, Captain Mark Phillips, on their 700-acre Gloucestershire estate, the event has succumbed to the pressures of the current economic environment. The announcement shared on the festival's website on March 4th communicated the decision, stating, "With great sadness, we must inform that the Magic Millions Festival of British Eventing at Gatcombe Park will not proceed this year. Despite the organising team's persistent efforts, the prevailing economic conditions have rendered the event's continuation infeasible." The statement also cited that last year's unfavourable weather, which resulted in the cancellation of the event alongside the escalating operational costs associated with a greenfield site, as critical factors in the decision to cancel the festival. Princess Anne's husband, Sir Tim Lawrence, sparked worry among royal enthusiasts after he appeared at a Westminster Abbey charity event sporting a black eye. However, royal insiders have clarified that the 69-year-old sustained the injury accidentally while dealing with fencing in his garden. There are 25 days remaining until Kate's expected Easter return. And there you have it. Please follow us on Spotify, Apple, or your app of choice, and leave us a review if you like the show. Or leave us a review if you don't like the show. We'll read them both. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue, and good times.